Está con nosotros hoy Gabby Bernstein, que me imagino que muchos de ustedes conocen o siguen en redes sociales, que se dedica desde hace muchos años a transformar la vida de la gente y a enseñarles el poder de la manifestación.
Hola, ¿cómo estás, amiga?
Es conocida por Oprah como una de las Super Soul 100, que es este grupo de especialistas innovadores que levantan conciencia en el mundo y saben que nuestro trabajo en este programa es darle las herramientas para que ustedes encuentren la forma de ser su mejor versión. Así es que desde Nueva York, gracias y bienvenida, mi querida Gabby. How are you, girl?
Muy bien, muy bien.
So many of us live our hurdles in life as life trying to complicate things for us as much as possible. But you have a different take on it. You say that obstacles or every person that was in your way was actually an amazing opportunity.
I have lived with a mindset of miracles, milagros. It is my work, my passion, and my personal commitment to my own well-being to consistently focus on personal development and spiritual growth so that I can have the optimism that you're speaking of, so that I can speak and see the world through the lens of possibility and see the world through the lens of hope and see the world through the lens of what I can learn from this. Because el mundo es el salón de clases. I think I said that right. Okay.
Sí, porque el mundo es nuestro salón de clases, exactly.
And I really believe that when we first and foremost just make that commitment to even just have our mind open to the possibility that we can see things differently, that actually opens an invisible door, and it's a consciousness shift. So if anyone's listening to us right now and thinking, okay, this is kind of interesting, let me hear some more. I feel hopeful when I hear that. That might open up someone's consciousness to say, I'm going to go read a book about this, or I'm going to go open my mind to some self-help, or I'm going to think a little bit more about spirituality. And then what's going to happen is you're going to start to notice all these different synchronicities happen in your life. And so maybe another book will show up on your Amazon feed, or somebody might mention a talk about, someone coming to Mexico like me, right? Or whatever that story may be. And it's really the first step is having the willingness to see through that lens and to see the world with more possibility. Then the universe is like an algorithm. You're going to start being presented all these different ways of perceiving things differently once you open up your conscious awareness to see that way.
Okay, there we are. So let's go back to this concept of the universe is an algorithm. So what do you mean by that?
When you start going on Instagram or Facebook, and who goes on Facebook? Let's say you're on Instagram, and you post something.
Or TikTok. By the way, my daughters say my algorithm on TikTok is terrible. Thank you.
Let me tell you something. Whatever you're doing is great, because I've heard the most amazing things about you. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, dear.
Your daughters should be taking lessons from you. Okay. So you start looking for dogs, and then the algorithm starts to feed you dogs. The universe is the same way. What you focus on, you create more of. What you believe, you receive. We manifest what we believe. So when we have a thought that we keep thinking, that thought becomes a belief. That belief puts an energy in us. That energy is what we send out to the universe, and the universe reflects back to that energía.
Well, there's actually something that we say in Spanish, and I'll try to translate that. What we fear the most will happen to us first.
Yep.
And that is because, according to your explanation, you're so focused on that you're pulling it back to you, and it ends up happening.
Here's the truth. Are we creating fires in Los Angeles? No. Are we creating war? No. But when we collectively, as humankind, have negative thoughts, then it creates more negative thoughts, more negative energy. When on the individual level, let's say you and I right now are creating a connection. I really like you. I can't wait to meet you when I'm in Mexico City. This is a vibration that's positive. The people listening are going to feel that vibration, feel that positivity.
And you know what? There's something really cool that you say. We need to change the perception that we have of what we think is a great life. And you could give us like a very educational example. Like, for example, when you lose your job and people think that that is the end of the world or like a curse and that it's absolutely just bad luck. But then there's another way of looking at it.
Yeah, I like to say that obstacles are detours in the right direction. And so when we lose that job, I'll always congratulate somebody. I'll say, congratulations. Now is your chance to go and do the thing that really pulls your heartstrings, follow your purpose, find more passion. When people get a divorce, I say, congratulations. You've made a decision, a hard decision. And now with that new momentum, you can start to attract the love that you truly want, whether it's a love with another or a love with yourself. When something that is difficult happens, even really tragic things that happen, oftentimes people will go through those tragedies, whether it be maybe a diagnosis or moving through difficult circumstances. When they live through those circumstances with the optimism and the hope, they are much more inclined to find the miracles in the difficult times. And look, sometimes when we lose it all is when we can actually really create that new mindset because there's no distractions.
I even gave a conference a few years ago talking about how to re-signify your story. And what I was trying to explain to the audience is you can decide how do you want to tell that story to yourself in order for the story to have a meaningful, higher, more constructive purpose. Like, what do I mean? I mean, I can say, I got divorced when I was 32. My husband deceived me because he was not what I needed him to be. I ended up with 2 kids all by myself, having to work my butt off for the rest of my life. Or I can say, I thank and I bless this man because thanks to him and everything he was, everything he wasn't, everything he did, everything he didn't, I have discovered the woman I am. I discovered this internal power. And now I have 2 beautiful daughters. And thanks to, the pressure that I felt at the time and moment, I became who I am today. So those are 2 ways of seeing, the same obstacle.
See, I always like to say that you can choose again. You can witness the negative thoughts that you have on repeat. And then the second step is to forgive yourself for having that thought. Like, oh, okay, that's a negative thought. I'm going to forgive myself. Yeah. And the third step is to choose again. You just reach for the next best feeling thought. So the example of the divorce, and I'm mad about it and I'm upset about it. Okay, notice it. Forgive yourself for having that thought. And then choose the next best feeling thought. The next best feeling thought is, well, this is my chance to fall in love with myself. Or this is my chance to take care of my health and get on my own path. And this is my chance to manifest the love I truly desire. And that level of thinking requires a undoing, like you were saying. It's a reformatting. It's a reframing.
Also, so basically you can apply this 3-part step in anything that happens in your life.
Yes. Anything that's happening, because it's not going from, here's the important thing, Martha, you're not going from I'm broke to I'm a millionaire, right? You're going from the belief I'm broke, forgive yourself for having that thought, and then choose the next best thought. The next best thought is, well, I have LinkedIn and I can reach out to people on LinkedIn. And I have a resume that's pretty strong, so I can go send that off to a friend. And I have access to Marta's challenge for making money. These are the thoughts that bridge you back into the positive thinking and the positive belief set. But you're not going to jump from I'm broke to I'm a millionaire, because your brain, your ego, your fear is going to be like, no, right? But when we reach and you gently reach and gently reach and gently reach, we guide our thoughts back to positivo.
So there's something I've always said on the show, and it's that we are the result of the 5 closest people that surrounds us. And you always say you have to surround yourself with positive reinforcement and positive support. And I mean, there's so many of us carrying with people that we know from childhood. Maybe they were our friends in kindergarten or high school. Maybe it's like a family member. But people that, far from adding to our lives and far from being a positive influence and cheerleaders and motivators, They're detractors. They're demeaning. They, you know, blow out the wind under our wings. They don't believe in us. They're negative. And that is not the type of energy that you need in life.
Sí, yo tengo un nuevo libro, se llama Autoayuda. Y
Autoayuda.
es muy importante para relationships, because the whole premise of this book is that we what we believe inside of ourselves, the core beliefs from our past, create the patterns, behaviors, and relationships that we have in our present moment.
Say that again.
So the core beliefs from our childhood, see, like young beliefs, joven, see, have such a strong impact internally that they begin to create belief systems and ideas and feelings that we then replicate over and over again in all of our circumstances, whether it be money, whether it be relationships, whether it be health. And the real change happens when we start to heal and befriend those belief systems, those core belief systems. Often you might call them core wounds. And so in this Nuevo Libro, it's about a 4-step practice for really healing those core wounds, not just like overriding them or thinking about them differently, which is all good, right, Martha? It's good to change your mind. But the real healing happens with a internal reflection and a, like I said, compassionate befriending, a compassionate connection to these younger parts of yourself.
Of course. Well, I think on everybody's like darkest hour, and I think that one of the best go-to rescue remedies is like trusting the process and trusting that there is a superior power that will take care of things.
My most popular book is The Universe Has Your Back, which I heard you mention.
Yeah.
And that book is about transforming fear into faith and trusting, releasing fear and trusting the universe. And my work is about helping people establish that faith of their own understanding. I'm not going to say, you know, your God is my God, or it has to be, you know, this way or that way. It's about just opening your heart to having faith in a higher power. And when we start to establish any sense of connection to a presence beyond our physical sight, we begin to live a miraculous life, because we can actually know that in those moments when we're in a tough situation, we can surrender it. We can say a prayer. We can know that when we're struggling, we can slow down, and through meditation, we can listen and receive inner guidance. And then we can even go further and begin to expand those belief systems beyond our physical sight and start trusting even things like our ancestors or our loved ones who are deceased are supporting us, or that there is an energy of love that is within us and around us. And when we tap into that energy of love, we are given inspired ideas and creative direction. And we're no longer trying to figure things out, but we're allowing ourselves to be guided. And that way of living is very different than the traditional way that we live, because we live with fault, we live with fear, we live with doubt, we live with judgment and attack. But when we start to open up to that universal wisdom and that energy, truly it's an energy of love, then we open our wisdom and our mind to what is possible. And we begin to vibrate at a new frequency. Now, these might sound like kind of spiritual jargon, but it's true. It's real. I swear by it. I stand by it. And the resonance of the way that I speak this, I hope resonates with the listener, whether they hear me in English and they understand it, or they just feel the vibration of what I'm saying.
My dear friend, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I send you a big kiss all the way to wherever you are.
Esa es mi nueva amiga.
Exacto.